probably won't repeat a whole lot. Now, level 2 and level 3, we are still doing phonics, but it's just, we kind of move beyond the simple words, and we start reading a little bit further and a little bit more in depth. The one thing that we add starting in level 2 is we add the Memoria Press, this big box of cards. I bought this box at, because I know you guys will ask, I bought this box at Walmart, and they don't really fit with the lid on. I've turned them sideways, but also because there were so many of them, I actually drew colors on the side because they're broken up in little groups. So like these are they do, you know, some sight words like red and things like that. And so I just drew a purple so that I would know what kind of section I was looking for. And then every week in Simply Classical level 2, it tells you to use a particular, you know, so they also have the classical phonics book, which is this one, and this sort of acts as your review. You go through and you read down word lists. So it schedules one of those pages, and then it tells you what flashcards. So phonics flashcards 28 plus 189 and 258. And then I would just go through the week and find all the cards, because sometimes they're the same every day, but then sometimes like Tuesday's card might be different than Monday's card. And then I bought these little photo boxes. Now there are 2 different size photo boxes. There's one that I saw at Michael's that it's a smaller box and it fits like inside a box. Those don't fit the cards. You have to either cut the cards. These are the bigger boxes. I think these are the 5x7 instead of the 4x6. And I think they don't fit in a case, but I just take the, you know, I find, so as you can see, all the cards have numbers at the bottom, and I just take the cards that it tells me that I need, and I stick them in this little box for the week. And then usually for the review session for this particular level, I'll usually keep 1 or 2 weeks together in here, or if there was a particular word that the child was struggling with, I might keep that in there. So for example, when you get words like this, which I don't even remember if this is an SC2, I just pulled this random card, there's all these little words, and if they're not able to fluently read these cards, I'll keep it in this smaller box until they're able to read it more fluently. So in level 2, we continue. We start reviewing the CVC words, and then we spend a little bit more time on the long vowels and silent E and things like that. And then they use Core Skills Phonics Workbook 2. That's kind of your writing for Simply Classical 2. For phonics, we do begin a formal writing program in this level, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But that's what your phonics. And then the spelling is new this level, and it's more of an oral spelling program. So this is the spelling book, and it's book 1. And they are some simple words, but actually there are still like silent E words. And then we also add these maybe harder words to know. And that way we can start writing sentences and things like that. I do use the little letter beads that I showed to help with this level, something that they can do independently. So they might work on this level with me. You don't have to write the words, but you can. This one's more of an oral spelling program, but I have the child copy the words. This tells you exactly, there's words in context. So if they can't read that sentence, you would read it to them and they can find all their words in there. Then this tells you find each of the vowels. Is each vowel long or short? Which word has the short E? And they talk about that. And then there's space for extra practice. So if they keep getting one of these words wrong, my kids kept getting the words to know wrong from week after week. So we had a long little list down here working on that. But so spelling is introduced in this level. And then we have cursive also begins in this level. And there are some extra sensory activities scheduled in the curriculum manual, you know, writing with chalk outside and different multi-sensory activities. So if you're hesitant on cursive, you definitely want to use the SC2 plans for this. And it also includes practice sheets, and you'll see it practices the letter and it just gives you some extra practice. There's a copybook that's also more of your writing in this level, and it's a little bit harder. This is the size of the font. We're memorizing Bible verses, but it does change size by the end of the year to a little bit smaller. In Simply Classical 2, there are actually 2 writing books. There is one for the Bible and one that goes along with the enrichment. I actually have the other one, but I wasn't able to locate it today. I apologize. It's blue. It looks exactly the same, but it ties to the read aloud books instead of the Bible. Children who are maybe older and not doing the full SC2 core, but maybe needed to back up and needed a specialized writing course, it's a good idea to use the Bible one because the book doesn't look quite as young as maybe the stories in the enrichment. And you use the book from level B. And it's hopeful that by the end of this level, the child might be able to read those. So an older child really might be able to read it, but if they're struggling with just writing a basic sentence, then this would be the book that they would do. And so it always starts with a sentence that they should be able to read, and they copy it, and then it tells you learn the rules, apply the rules, and write the rules. By probably about week 9 or 10, my kids knew they needed to get the green pencil for go, the red pencil for stop, and the blue pencil for special. And I could sit with them and watch them do this. But as we got more into the year, this particular level, it's the same every single week. And so they were able to get a little bit more independent with it. An older child might be able to go a little bit faster with it too. And then for older children, maybe you get both and they do 2 sentences a day instead of just 1. So that's something that you could do maybe if you wanted. We did do both with my older child, and we did not again with any other children. So it was a lot of work. We also introduce the first semester with our phonics. We're doing now it's called I Can Read Book 2. I don't have that book because that's a newer release for Simply Classical 2. It used to use these Moose Moments book, but now it's something called I Can Read. And that'll be, so every day you have a phonics and a spelling lesson, and then you also have a reading and writing lesson. And in your reading, in the first half of the year, you'll use the I Can Read book and this At the Farm book. But then second semester, you'll begin Simply Classical Storytime Treasures. And there's a little bit less writing in this book than the regular Storytime Treasures. Like in the regular Storytime Treasures, all these words, they would actually have to copy them instead of just read them. There'd probably be a couple more sentences to write than this. Remember that when you're doing this one, the child will, so it asks you, this one actually you're just copying, I can't remember. But if there is a question here, like what made the goblin jump out of his shoes? So my child answered, the bump made the goblin jump out of his shoes. Well, at this level, she did not know how to spell all of these words. So I wrote I have this little whiteboard over here. I just wrote on the board the exact sentence that she dictated to me, and then she copies it into the book. And that's kind of what you want to do throughout all of this level. This is just one of the read aloud books. It looked kind of young, but my older daughter actually really liked this book. And for the writing that day, you're supposed to use your name just like they do in this book. And so like for D, dolphin dives through lots of dots, and inside the illustration are all things that begin with the letter D. It's just a really nice, pretty book. And then in this level in the enrichment, we also have Jim Weiss's Animal Tales. Those are a favorite. My kids have listened to those during quiet time, during lunchtime. My kids kind of go crazy, and so I like to play a lot of those. The CDs that have come with many of the Simply Classical levels, I like to play those at lunchtime. In this level, at the back of the curriculum guide are comprehension tools. And so we have this little caterpillar Calvin. I just colored them and laminated them so that we start with the smaller one. And when you're reading your story, you say who are, you can ask these questions. Who is the main character? Where? What? And when? And then as they get more proficient at those questions, you can add to the caterpillar and start asking how and why and which. And so when you're using this book, if they're having a hard time answering some of those why questions, maybe you go back to the smaller caterpillar, get those questions answered to help you work through those. I had completely forgotten about these, and my older daughter in I think the Simply Classical 4, she was having a hard time with some of the comprehension questions, and I forgot, oh my goodness, we have these. And so I pulled these back out in Simply Classical 4 and reused those. And then we also have these cards: why, how, which, whose. Oh wait, I thought there's another one, sorry. And then we have what, who, when, and where, and those are included in the back of the guide. And so we are at 3:45 now, so I'm going to need to go ahead and take a couple questions now.
Okay, so one person asks how to help a child that continues to reverse letters when writing freehand.
I found I had a child who did that for a really long time in the Play-Doh. I actually physically using the Play-Doh and manipulating it. So you have to make the stick, and then you have to make the stick, and you have to kind of make the C, and you have to physically put it in the right spot. And then we traced it. That really helped a lot. I found that probably worked the most, but she's still reversing it even now a little bit. And I suspect that might be a dyslexia sign. So, but this really, you put the two together and it forms the letter, and then you have to flip it a different way to make it a P. So I really found this Play-Doh tip to be very helpful.
And then Jennifer asks, I already bought traditional spelling 1 for my daughter, but I am intrigued by the oral spelling you described from SC Spelling because my daughter will often spell things wrong when given written tests, but if I ask her to spell the words orally, she gets it right. That makes me think SC is a better fit. If this is the case, would you recommend I start with book 1 or 2? She's 13 but struggles with spelling, so not sure which is best.
Well, level 1 is definitely more simple than level 2, but if she's really struggling, I would maybe get that one and work through. If you want to see some of the words at the end, like week 28, we have fast and past and best and limp and romp. And so there's twice as many words in the next. I'll show you the next one in just a minute. So I think you would need to base it on the words.